Hello, my name is Aaron. I do rants and reviews, and admittedly, I'm a little late to this one, but today we are reviewing Encanto. Alright, so first things first, this review is spoiler free up until a certain point. At that time, I'll give you a heads up so that you can skip that section if you don't want any spoilers. Now, the basic premise of Encanto revolves around the Madrigal family and this Encanto, or miracle of sorts that they've been given. It gives them all special gifts. They're kind of like superpowers in a sense, and everyone has one except for Maribel. Maribel has no powers. The movie makes a point to say that about 5 times in a row, I guess for the kids. It seems excessive anyway. She has no powers, so the story kind of revolves around her and her struggle to fit in this group of extraordinary people. One of the primary ways that story is told is actually through song. And if you didn't know, the music for this movie was done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who did Hamilton. And if you don't know about Hamilton, well, then you've probably been living under a rock, and that's okay. So if you're a rock dweller, just know that Hamilton is a thing that exists, and it's popular. But anyway, back to Encanto. Now, one of the bad things about having your story told through song is that all of that exposition is in the song, which means that if you blink can you blink with your ears? Anyway, so if you tune out during the songs, you're actually going to miss a good chunk of the story. And that's unfortunate because it just makes it harder to follow what else is going on. And it doesn't help that a lot of the songs are really fast-paced. And again, that's not surprising given who wrote it. But essentially, what I'm saying is you need to pay attention during the songs. If not, you're going to miss some key parts of the story. But in the end, I think this is a good thing. It means that all of the songs are unique. They're more in the style of a Broadway musical, which again, is not surprising. But it also means that none of the songs are trying to be the next Let It Go. They're not trying to be pop. And so I like that. I think this is a good positive for the movie. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about is Bruno. I guess we don't talk about Bruno. It's a meme for some reason. I don't really know why, so if you do, just let me know in the comments. Explain it to this old person. But anyway, Bruno made a prophecy a long time ago that scared everyone, and so he essentially exiled himself. And we really can't talk about more than that without getting into spoilers. So at this point, I'm going to give you that warning. So 3, 2, 1.
Warning, the following section contains spoilers, so do not watch unless you've seen the movie or you don't care.
Alright, so Bruno. Bruno comes back, or rather, he never left, which I find kind of adorable. But anyway, I didn't actually care for what they did to Bruno's character. And let me explain. The reason for that is I think he was just played kind of for laughs. He's constantly throwing salt over his shoulder. He's constantly knocking on wood. And I understand that they're trying to convey the fact that he's a little bit traumatized about what might happen to his family, and he really doesn't want anything to happen to them. So he does care. But I just feel like his character was kind of played for laughs. And that while the adults might understand that there's clearly something going on here, the kids are just going to be laughing at this character that's clearly gone through a traumatic experience. So it just didn't really mesh with me. But anyway, I do think his character is important to the story, and the way that that's resolved does work out in the end. Another thing that I liked is that Maribel doesn't get powers in the end. I think there's a lot of movies where the character goes through this cycle and development and growth and learns to be okay with how they are, and then in the end gets kind of this consolation prize anyway. And they very easily could have done that, but they didn't. She ends up working through her lack of ability and it's resolved in a good way. And so I like the way that that was done. That's about all I have for spoilers, so let's get into my final thoughts. Alright, so just a few more comments before I give my verdict. Now, I really like the fact that there's no comic relief sidekick animal character thing in this movie. So many movies have that. Porgs, I'm looking at you. Olaf, yeah. Anyway, so I really liked the fact that there isn't just some annoying animal sidekick character that's just a blatant merchandising opportunity. I really like the fact that they didn't stick that trope in here. I guess the house is kind of a character, but not really a marketable thing. Anyway, I thought the house was fun and cute. But anyway, on a more serious note, I like the fact that the movie addresses the more serious topic of intergenerational family trauma. And that's a pretty heavy topic that really doesn't get addressed, especially in movies that both kids and adults can enjoy. So I thought it did a good job with that. I don't know if it quite resolves it as well as I would have liked it to, because again, they do make it a point to point out that Maribel has no powers, but it's not really quite explicitly stated or resolved as to why she wasn't given any powers by the Encanto. So that's not really ever resolved in an explicit sense. And I guess in a sense that's realistic, because you can't expect all of this trauma and all of these problems to be resolved over the course of a short movie. So in a sense, I guess that's realistic, but it just seemed kind of odd to me that they were so blatant in pointing some things out, and then they left some other things just kind of hanging. But ultimately, I think that the story does get resolved well, and so I liked it overall. The verdict for this one would be that it's definitely worth a watch. Number scales are kind of useless unless you have something to compare them to, so I guess I could say that this is a 7 out of 10, and for me, The Incredibles would be a 10 out of 10. But again, it's a good movie. It's certainly unique among some of the more recent Disney movies, so I definitely recommend watching it, checking it out. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and leave a comment with your thoughts. I hope to see you again in another video. Take care. Bye.